Hello everyone! Tonight we travel back nearly 9 centuries to a small village in medieval England, where a story was recorded that remains one of the strangest and most mysterious tales in history. It is the legend of the Green Children of Woolpit, a brother and sister who appeared out of nowhere, their skin tinted green, their speech unintelligible, and their origins shrouded in mystery. Were they lost wanderers, victims of an unknown illness, or visitors from another world? The story begins in the village of Woolpit, located in Suffolk, England. The name Woolpit itself comes from the wolf pits that surrounded the village at the time, deep excavations dug into the earth and covered with branches to trap wolves, which were still a menace in the English countryside. It was during the reign of King Stephen, sometime in the mid-12th century, that the villagers of Woolpit witnessed something they would never forget. According to 2 chroniclers, Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newburgh, the villagers came across 2 children who had emerged from one of the wolf pits. The children were a boy and a girl. They appeared to be siblings, dressed in unfamiliar clothing, made of a strange material, speaking a language that no one in Woolpit recognized. Their most striking feature was their green, colored skin. The villagers were bewildered. The children looked human, but their appearance and behavior were completely foreign. They were taken into the care of a local landowner, Sir Richard de Calney, who tried to make sense of who they were and where they had come from. At first, the children refused all food. When offered bread, meat, or vegetables, they pushed it away, shaking their heads. They seemed near starvation until they were given raw broad beans. Only then did they eat, eagerly consuming the beans straight from their stalks. For weeks, they ate nothing else. Over time, however, they began to adapt and accept more of the local diet. Tragically, the boy did not survive long. He grew sick and died soon after being baptized. The girl, however, grew healthier and eventually lost the green tint of her skin, becoming more like the people around her. She learned English and was able to explain, in time, where she and her brother had come from, or at least where she believed they had come from. The girl claimed that they came from a place she called the Land of St. Martin, a land of perpetual twilight where the sun never fully shone. Everything there was dim, greenish, and bathed in half-light. She said the people of her homeland were all green, like she and her brother had been. They lived underground or in enclosed communities, and they could see another land of light across a great river. According to her account, she and her brother had been tending their family's livestock when they followed the animals into a cavern. Inside, they wandered through passages of darkness, eventually emerging into the brilliant sunlight of Woolpit, which blinded and disoriented them. They were then discovered by the villagers. This explanation only deepened the mystery. Was the land of St. Martin a metaphor, or did the girl truly describe another realm? The concept of perpetual twilight sounded like nothing that the people of 12th century England could identify. Some interpreted it as an underground world. Others believed the children had crossed into our world from a parallel dimension. Even more intriguing was the girl's later life. After being integrated into society, she was said to have adjusted fully, even taking service in Sir Richard's household. Some accounts claim she was eventually married to a man from King's Lynn, Norfolk, and lived out the rest of her life as a normal woman. But the mystery of her origins and her brother's untimely death haunted the story forever. The tale of the Green Children was recorded by serious chroniclers of the time, not merely storytellers. William of Newburgh, a respected historian, wrote about the case with caution, but did not dismiss it as a simple fable. Ralph of Coggeshall, an abbot, also recorded the story, indicating that it was widely known and not easily explained away. Over the centuries, scholars and folklorists have tried to make sense of the legend. Some argue that the children were simply foreigners, perhaps Flemish immigrants fleeing persecution or war. Their green skin might have been the result of dietary deficiency, such as chloroses, a type of anemia once called the green sickness. Their strange language could have been Flemish, unfamiliar to the villagers of Woolpit, yet this explanation does not fully account for the details. Why would the children describe a land of perpetual twilight? Why would they appear suddenly from a wolf pit, as if emerging from the ground itself? And why did the story persist with such consistency in multiple historical records? Others have interpreted the tale symbolically as a kind of allegory. Perhaps the children represented outsiders or strangers who were integrated into English society. Their green skin may have symbolized otherness, while their eventual adaptation could be seen as assimilation. Yet again, this does not explain why chroniclers treated the story as factual. More speculative theories suggest the children came from a parallel dimension, slipping through a thin boundary between worlds. The cave they described might have been a portal, and the land of scent. Martin could have been another plane of existence, bathed in twilight. To those who believe in multiverse theories, this explanation holds fascinating possibilities. And then, of course, there are those who believe the green children were not from this world at all. Their strange clothing, unknown language, refusal of normal food, and green skin have led some to wonder if they were extraterrestrials, beings who somehow ended up stranded in medieval England. Could Woolpit have witnessed one of the earliest encounters with visitors from another world? The mystery deepens when one considers the symbolism of the color green. In medieval folklore, green was often associated with the supernatural, with fairies, otherworldly beings, and spirits of the natural world. The children's green skin could have linked them in the minds of villagers to the realm of fairies or enchanted lands. The idea that they emerged from underground ties closely to Celtic myths of the Otherworld, a hidden realm beneath the earth where time and reality worked differently. The story of the green children of Woolpit straddles the line between folklore and history, between reality and myth. And that is perhaps why it remains so captivating. Unlike a mere fairy tale, this account was treated as an event that actually occurred. Unlike a dry historical record, it contains elements that stretch the imagination and defy explanation. As we close part 1 of this mystery, we stand at the crossroads of interpretation. Were the green children immigrants misunderstood by medieval villagers? Were they sickly peasants whose diet gave them unusual appearances? Or were they truly travelers from another realm, their story preserved in the only way medieval minds could express it? The story of the green children of Woolpit is more than a strange medieval legend. It is a window into how people of the past understood the unknown. To finish this tale, let's dive into the theories, context, and interpretations that make this story one of history's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. First, let us examine the historical setting. The mid-12th century was a time of turmoil in England, marked by civil war between King Stephen and Empress Matilda, a period often called the Anarchy. During this time, law and order broke down in many areas, and villages like Woolpit would have been isolated, vulnerable, and highly superstitious. In such an atmosphere, the sudden appearance of two children who spoke an unknown language and had green skin would have seemed shocking, perhaps even supernatural. The chroniclers who recorded the story were serious men, not storytellers of folklore. William of Newburgh was a respected historian who often criticized other writers for exaggerating tales. That he included the green children in his writings indicates that he considered the event worth noting. Ralph of Coggeshall, an abbot, was also known for his attention to detail. Their accounts differ slightly, but agree on the central facts. Two green-skinned children appeared, refused normal food, survived on beans, and claimed to come from another land. The medical theory is one of the most widely accepted explanations among historians. Some scholars suggest that the children suffered from chlorosis, a form of anemia that was sometimes called the green sickness. This condition, caused by poor diet and malnutrition, can give the skin a pale greenish tint. If the children were malnourished and came from a poor, marginalized community, this could explain their appearance. Once the girl adapted to a healthier diet, her skin returned to normal as recorded. But even if chlorosis explains the skin color, it does not explain the strange language, the unusual clothing, or the children's account of coming from a land of twilight. Here, other theories must be considered. One is the Flemish theory. In the 12th century, there were many Flemish immigrants in England, particularly in Norfolk and Suffolk. They often faced hostility and violence. Some scholars suggest the children may have been Flemish orphans whose parents were killed, leaving them wandering. Their strange language could have been a Flemish dialect unfamiliar to the villagers of Woolpit. Their green skin could be attributed to malnutrition. The land of perpetual twilight, they described, might have been their memory of dark forests or underground mines where their people sometimes worked. However, there is a flaw in this theory. The chroniclers emphasize the otherworldly nature of the children's speech and appearance. Would the villagers and chroniclers really fail to recognize Flemish, a relatively common language in the area at the time? Then there is the folkloric interpretation. In medieval Europe, tales of green-skinned people were not unheard of. Green was associated with fairies, nature spirits, and beings from the otherworld. According to Celtic tradition, the otherworld was a hidden realm beneath the earth or across a body of water, where time passed differently and light was perpetual twilight. The children's story of following livestock into a cavern and emerging in a land of bright light fits eerily well with descriptions of passageways into the otherworld. Could the Green Children have been a folktale rooted in this mythology, later written down by chroniclers who treated it as fact? Possibly, yet the specificity of the details, the beans, the baptism, the girl's eventual marriage, gives the story a realism that folklore often lacks. Now we turn to the paranormal theories. For some, the Green Children were not of this world at all. Their sudden appearance, odd diet, and strange origin story suggest an encounter with beings from another dimension. The land of St. Martin, described as a twilight place separated by a great river, could be interpreted as a parallel world or another planet entirely. The cave they wandered into may have been a portal. This interpretation might sound fantastical, but it has fascinated researchers who see the tale as an early account of interdimensional travel. In this light, the Green Children could be viewed not as peasants or fairies, but as interlopers from a world close to ours yet unreachable. The extraterrestrial theory also has its believers. Some suggest the children may have been visitors from another planet, stranded on Earth. Their green skin, their difficulty adapting to our food, and their strange clothing might support this idea. Their account of a twilight land could describe a planet with a dim sun or a place far from Earth. While this theory stretches the imagination, it has endured, especially among those who connect the Woolpit story with other historical accounts of strange beings. But perhaps the most unsettling interpretation is that we will never truly know the truth. The Green Children of Woolpit remain a paradox, too strange to dismiss as ordinary, too grounded in historical record to dismiss as pure legend. They live in that space between history and myth where the human imagination thrives. The fate of the girl also adds depth to the mystery. Unlike so many tales of supernatural beings, she did not vanish, nor did she remain an outcast. Instead, she assimilated, worked, and even married. This raises an intriguing possibility that she carried her secrets to the grave, blending into human society while always remaining, in some sense, apart. As centuries passed, the story was retold, embroidered, and reinterpreted. Each generation saw in it what they most feared or most desired. For medieval villagers, it was a reminder of the thin boundary between the human world and the supernatural. For modern scholars, it is a puzzle of history, folklore, and human psychology. For those drawn to the paranormal, it is evidence of other dimensions and alien contact. The Green Children of Woolpit endure because they refuse to be explained away. They haunt the imagination precisely because their story is incomplete. Were they sick, foreign children misunderstood by frightened villagers? Were they fairies who strayed too far from the otherworld? Were they travelers from a parallel reality, forever caught in our history books by accident? We may never know, but the image of those two children emerging from the ground, green, skinned and bewildered, lives on. Their story has traveled from the chronicles of monks to the pages of folklore, from academic debates to speculative theories of extraterrestrial life. It has inspired novels, plays, and endless speculation. And as long as the story is told, the Green Children of Woolpit will remain with us to mysterious figures from the shadows of history, forever challenging us to question what lies beyond the familiar.